Hello everyone, my name is Mubeen Teaching Wala. I belong to Turbat Balochistan and I am a level 1 student at Rehan College. Welcome to another exciting and informative talk with ChatGPT session. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic, how to deal with criticism and use it to self-improvement. Criticism is
That's such a
a normal
powerful.
part of life. Sometimes it can be difficult to hear, but constructive criticism can also help us identify our weakness, learn from our mistakes, improve our skills, and become better versions of ourselves. In this conversation, I will ask ChatGPT some important questions and about understanding criticism, responding to it positively, dealing with negative feedback, learning from mistakes, and using useful feedback for personal growth. So let's begin this valuable conversation with ChatGPT and learn how we can turn criticism into an opportunity for self improvement. So my first question is to ChatGPT: what is criticism and why is it a normal part of life?
Criticism is basically when someone points out what they think is wrong with something you said, did, or created. Now, it can feel uncomfortable at first. No one loves being told they messed up, but it's normal because nobody's perfect. Everyone, no matter how skilled or experienced they are, has blind spots. So criticism shows up as feedback that can highlight those areas we don't see ourselves. Think of it like either a mirror not showing your face, but your behavior or your habits. Now it feels tough sometimes, but it doesn't have to be negative. It's simply a part of learning, growing, and improving. The key is how we handle it.
What is the difference between constructive criticism and negative criticism?
Yeah, good question. Constructive criticism is given with the intention to help. It's specific, like maybe try organizing your argument like this to make it clearer. Negative criticism, on the other hand, is often vague or harsh, like this just sucks without suggestions or an intent to help. So the big difference is actually the intention behind the words and whether they give you something to work with. Now,
Why do
constructive feedback,
why do people sometimes find it difficult to accept criticism?
hmm, well, people often tie criticism to their sense of self worth. So when someone says this part of your work isn't great, it can feel like they're saying you're not great, which stings. It triggers defensiveness, embarrassment, or even shame. Plus, past experiences matter too. If someone's only received criticism in harsh or unfair ways, they're more likely to brace against it now. It's human instinct to protect yourself, but that reaction doesn't mean you can't learn to handle it differently.
How should we react when someone criticizes our work or behavior?
And the first step is just pause. Instead of jumping to defend, take a breath, like a literal slow breath. Then ask yourself, is there something useful in this? If yes, focus on that, not the tone. You might say, thanks, I'll think about it. If it feels unfair or mean spirited, it's okay to set boundaries. Something like, I'm open to feedback, but not if it's disrespectful. The key is deciding what's useful and dropping the rest. That way, you keep your energy for growth instead of arguments.
How can we stay calm when receiving criticism?
Staying calm is partly physical, partly mental. Slow your breathing just a bit. It sends a signal to your brain that you're safe. Then, instead of reacting immediately, listen for the core point. If you're not sure, ask clarifying questions. Like, can you give an example? That gives you clarity and time mentally. Remind yourself, this is about the work, not my entire worth. That little shift takes practice, but over time, it makes criticism less overwhelming.
How can criticism help us identify areas where we need to improve?
Well, criticism can act like a spotlight, highlighting the spots we don't notice ourselves. For example, maybe someone points out your report was hard to follow. That signals a chance to work on clarity. If someone says your design feels overcrowded, that hints at improving visual balance. The trick is to filter feedback, keep what's specific and actionable, and ignore the stuff that's just venting. Over time, patterns show up. If you hear the same thing from multiple people, that's a clue worth looking at. So, criticism becomes data. It's not an attack. The skill is separating the signal from the noise.
Why is it important to listen carefully before responding to criticism?
Because if you don't listen fully, you might react to the tone instead of the actual message. Careful listening lets you hear what the person actually means. You catch useful details and show that you're open, which, funnily enough, often makes the other person less defensive too. It turns the conversation into problem solving, not a tug of war. And honestly, it gives you more power to choose your response.
How can we decide whether criticism is useful or not?
Ask two quick questions. Is it specific? Does it point to something fixable? If yes, it's probably useful. If it's vague, like you're bad at this, that's not helpful. So there's nothing to act on. And if you're unsure, you can always ask, what would you suggest instead? If they can give suggestions, that's a green light to consider. If not, it's probably more venting than feedback, and you can skip it.
What should we do when criticism is unfair or based on a misunderstanding?
If it's unfair, first, don't rush to fight back. Calm yourself down, then check if there's any part of it you can use. If there's truly nothing, it's okay to let it go. You might say, I hear you, but I see it differently. Respectful, clear, done. If it's based on misunderstanding, a simple clarification usually fixes it. Either way, stay respectful to yourself first. You don't have to carry what isn't true.
How can criticism help students improve their learning and performance?
Criticism, when constructive, shows students exactly where to focus their effort. So instead of guessing what's wrong, they get specific pointers like your thesis needs clearer support. That helps target practice. Over time, using feedback like this builds better study strategies. It teaches resilience too, because students learn not to crumble when work isn't perfect. Instead, they see failures as stepping stones, not failures. In short, Criticism, when handled well, becomes a guide for improvement.
What is your final advice for someone who wants to use criticism as a tool for personal growth?
I'd say treat criticism like it's feedback on the work, not you as a person. Keep what helps, test it, try small changes, and be patient with yourself. Growth is usually gradual, not instant. And most importantly, don't lose sleep over every negative comment. Listen, learn, and then move forward with confidence.
Thank you so much, ChatGPT, for this valuable and informative conversation. Today, we learned that criticism does not always have to be something negative. When it is honest, respectful, and constructive, it can help us understand our weakness, correct our mistakes, improve our skills, and continue growing. We also learned that we should listen carefully, stay calm about the feedback, and decide how we can use it to improve ourselves. The key lesson is simple: don't be afraid of constructive criticism. Listen, learn, improve, and keep growing. What we should remember that nobody is perfect and there is always something new we can learn about ourselves. I hope this conversation help you become more confident in receiving feedback and more willing to use it as an opportunity to self improvement. Once again, thank you for watching this talk with ChatGPT session. This is Mubeen Teaching Wala from Turbat, Balochistan, and I am a level 1 student at Rehan College. Keep learning, keep improving, accept useful feedback, and never stop growing. Allah Hafiz, and see you in the next talk with ChatGPT session.
Thank you, Moving Teaching Wala from Turbo Balochistan and level 1 student at Rehan College. Keep learning, keep growing. Allah Hafiz.